Hi everyone, I'm Gina.
And I'm Yari.
And we are part of the project called Walkman, which is a mobile app designed to map and collect street improvement recommendations from everyday smartphone users targeted at improving walkability in China. So I'm going to start off by talking about how and why this project came to be. First by introducing our teammates, Lou and Faye. They recorded some introductions for us.
Look on the YouTube video, you see that, yeah.
Maybe not.
Okay. Well, we had their voices, but they're both first-year grad students in the Tsinghua University School of Art and Design. Since their background is primarily in information design, we decided to divvy up our roles by having them do most of the design components of the app, and we tried to contribute by doing a lot of the social science research that could substantiate the design of the app. We partnered with Cleaner Asia, as did a lot of the other projects, and a lot of, I'm just going to give two pieces of simple contextual information that you've heard earlier today about why there was a need for this project. First one is that Chinese urban planning in the last few decades has been centered around the automobile, so walking conditions have deteriorated very rapidly. And two, less walking leads to more pollution, and that's where Clean Air Asia has a stake in the project. So, also, Clean Air Asia first attempted to address this problem by developing an app called Walkability, and that attempted to just survey users with a smartphone to figure out an averaged walkability score for different countries. It had very limited functionality, so Clean Air Asia hoped to reiterate the app and make it more participatory for the users. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Yari, who's going to talk about the objectives of Walkman.
Great. So the app that we sought to create has a variety of goals and functions. One is that we wanted users to be able to see different walking routes and see reviews and ratings of those routes so they could figure out the best way to get from here to there. We also wanted to just encourage people to walk more. That was a very underlying goal throughout this whole process. But more than that, we wanted them to think critically about the streets they were walking down and really consider what's wrong with this, what problems do pedestrians face as they're walking down this street. And then from that, we wanted to make sure that they were able to make useful recommendations. So they thought about the problem, and then how could we help them make really detailed and thoughtful recommendations to improve the street and then increase that engagement between the pedestrians and street design. And then ultimately, Clean Air Asia, NGOs, and urban planners should be able to see those recommendations, see what pedestrians want, so they have a better understanding of what people on the streets actually need from their walking routes. So the initial idea that our Tsinghua partners presented to us was this app, which included a mini game, which we really liked this idea because basically people can take a picture of the street and then there are these icons which they could virtually drag onto the street and sort of improve it. So we liked the general idea, but we did have some concerns. So we felt that the best way we could contribute to this project was to do some research and really figure out how to make it most effective and best address the goals I just talked about. So some of our concerns: how can we really prompt users of this app to think deeply about street design and make really useful recommendations instead of just being overwhelmed and kind of picking a random icon? We wanted to look at how these things have worked in the past, what other measurements have been made, what metrics have been used, what other apps have been used to do similar types of things. When people are walking down the street, what are their concerns? And we felt like getting some categories of concerns could really help us guide the flow of the app and make those recommendations really pointed and useful and really engage the pedestrians in this process. And finally, of course, we just wanted to figure out how this app could best promote a walking culture. So from the literature review, we found a few important things. First, we found that it is proven when pedestrians are walking down the street, they can tell if it's walkable or not. So that was a good baseline to start with. weren't really that many examples of platforms where people were making the high level of detailed recommendation, like, you know, put a bench in this location. That's a very detailed recommendation, and there haven't been that many platforms. So this app, one, it fills a niche. You know, this is a really important thing that people can't do so much yet. But it also means that we needed to install an educational component in a way for people to really think deeply about this in order to get them to those recommendations. And finally, we looked at a bunch of surveys and metrics and grouped different things together in categories that I'll get to later.
Great, and another component of our research was taking a look at other citizen participation apps that have been developed in the last few years. It's become a pretty big thing in American cities to have city-specific see-click-fix type of apps in which citizens can report locations of potholes, graffiti, roadkill to city planners. And one really influential model for us was the Vision Zero app, which is being used in New York City right now, and it targets 0 pedestrian fatalities due to automobile traffic, and allows anyone, anonymous users, to just like map a location at which some kind of pedestrian safety hazard is posed by automobiles. It's really active. Every few minutes or so, people are commenting and also adding on to each other's comments. So we suggested this to our partners as a really crucial part of incentivizing people to use the app, to just have to create a very limited social network and a community sharing platform. And we also supplemented our literature review research by doing a bit of fieldwork and interviews in San Francisco, Chinatown.
And so, in kind of bringing all that research together, so again, this was the original design that they had come up with when we were beginning. You took a picture of a street, you could drag these icons on. We weren't sure if these icons were the most useful ones, and we weren't sure that people could really think critically about it. So we took all of our research, our interviews, the reviews, looking at other apps, and we came down to these 4 categories. So we went through hundreds of different metrics, and we found that we could boil it down to, I think this street needs to be safer from traffic, this street is uncomfortable for walking, I wish this street were more fun and relaxing, and I wish it were easier to reach public transportation. These seem to be things that people really think about as they're walking down the streets. So once somebody takes a picture of the street as they're walking down, these four items will then pop up on their screen. And whichever one they take ownership over and think is really important for improving the street, they can click on. And once they do that, they'll be presented with a set of icons, and these icons will pertain to that category. But we wanted to take it even a step further because we still felt like just having these icons, people still might be a little bit confused. So we wanted to prompt them. So as they touch each of the icons, there will be little prompts that pop up, and these can be explaining kind of what the icon would do, and it's also just reminding people this street could be better. Like, would this really be what would make the street better here? So we thought that was fun.
Yeah, and I'm going to walk us through pretty quickly the other functions and features of the app, because our partners were pretty ambitious and they wanted to build in a lot of features that would just make people want to use this app. So at first, you get presented with the weather. You can log in and make a profile on this screen, and there's also a built-in pedometer and calorie counter. You can get news of which of your friends are walking currently, or have walked the most, or walked recently. And there's a mapping feature, so you can track your own location, create, upload, and share walking routes. And this is the part we were just talking about. So wherever you're walking, you can take a photo and be led to the minigame portion of it. This is more like what the actual interface would look like versus our slides, because those haven't been implemented yet. But our partners are starting to break up the items into categories this way. And lastly, there are 2 ranking systems. One for which of your friends has been walking the most. That's how you can ascend levels there. And then the mini rankings here are for objects. So the most popular items that have been added to the same location will pop up.
And then to hit home the pillars of sustainability. This was a really important sort of reflection piece and kind of thinking about how walkability projects move forward. We can only do so much with one app, and I think we've thought a lot about these pillars of sustainability, but they need to be integrated further as more walkability projects move forward.